The girl have a golden ratio of face, this is a priceless face. But she's picking up items that others didn't eat all. While the customer was not paying attention, she stuffed the hamburger that the customer was half eating into his pocket. But her actions were seen by this man. He immediately went to her side but did not intend to denounce her. He gave her a business card, introducing himself as a photographer. He also told her to definitely call him. Waris didn't care, so she threw the business card away, but then she put it back in her pocket. This is a movie by famous model Waris and also an inspirational story for everyone. After work, Waris and her best friend, Melanin, talked about this and then gave this business card to her friend. Melanin is amazed. This is a famous photographer in the fashion world, even Princess Anna is his client. If he noticed, she would make more money than getting a job at a restaurant. But Waris said that taking photos is not allowed in her hometown. Melanin then cheered her on, since this is London, you have to take the opportunity that comes your way. With Melanin's encouragement, Waris followed the address under the business card to the photographer's office. Waris just met asked, "How much will you pay me when take a picture of me?" Terry laughed after hearing that. He said to Waris, "No one has ever asked for my money before, usually someone else has paid for me to come." This is the first time Waris faced with camera light, she still can't adapt. As the king of photography, for the first time, he was so patient. He spoke slowly to distract Waris' attention. Because of that, Waris also gradually relaxed, and confidently took fashion photos. Under Terry's recommendation, Waris went to a modeling agency. And the owner has no sympathy for inexperienced people like Waris. She criticized Waris for her bad looks, and not knowing how to wear high heels. But out of respect for Terry, she could only let her stay here temporarily. In the test shoot, all the models were done, except for Waris sitting on the cold chair. Just when she thought she was forgotten, someone finally came and called her in. Her expression wasn't natural at all, she didn't know the pose for the photo, so she just put her hands behind her. She was confused, thinking that she didn't take a good photo, so she left, but the photographer called her back. She is the one Terry's eyes on, who don't know why Waris has confidence. She also believes that it is no coincidence that she is hit by Terry. Any outfit she wears shows a very special style. It has set her apart from millions of models. Waris also successfully sees this life-changing opportunity. And she always keeps the attitude of always trying to move forward. After being criticized by her manager for being too big, but she worked hard to lose weight. She didn't know how to wear high heels, so she went home to practice hard with Melanin. Waris's efforts have given her the opportunity to step onto the international stage. She is no longer a shy girl but confidently shines on the catwalk. Waris became famous overnight. Since then the contracts have not stopped being signed. She appeared on countless famous magazine pages, and even became a shining black pearl on the catwalk. And her story also attracted a lot of media. Everyone assumed that the day she was discovered by Terry Donosan was the turning point of Waris. But she said that having her clitoris removed was the biggest turning point in her life. Then she told a story that shocked the world. Waris was born into a poor family. When she was 3 years old, her mother took her to a faraway place full of rocks. She was subjected to the practice of female genital mutilation by an old woman. It took her right to be a normal girl. After finishing, the old woman used a sharp thorn to sew up the wound. Waris was so young that she was left there only when she lived to the second day did her mother pick her up. Waris is lucky to be alive, but her 2 sisters aren't. Because she lost a lot of blood right after that custom, she had another sister after getting married because she had difficulty giving birth, and died. Reporter heard it and cried without a sound. Waris's story has become an inspirational one. Moreover, when she was 12 years old, her father sold her to a 60-year-old man for the price of 5 camels to become his 4th concubine. Waris didn't want her whole life to be miserable, so thanks to her mother's help in the dark, she ran away from home. She ran barefoot in the middle of a place full of stones. She only eats leaves and sleeps by the roadside. She met a hitchhiking driver but was almost humiliated by him. It took many days to go to the grandmother's house which living in Samari. Her grandmother was afraid that Waris would be taken home, so she asked someone to help her work as a maid for the British Embassy in Samari. But Waris will not live forever in the basement of the embassy. She efforts to learn English. After that, Samari civil war broke out and all the embassy staff were sent back. But Waris didn't want to go back to that scary house anymore, so she hid out. Nowhere, she wandered around. When she's hungry, she finds food in the trash until she meets her good friend Melanin in the toilet. Not only did she help Waris, but she also introduced her to the restaurant where she worked. Thanks to that, she was discovered by Terry Donosan, and eventually she became the world's best supermodel. In 1997, Waris gave up her modeling career, which was at its peak, and joined the campaign against female genital mutilation. In the same year, she was given a mission by the United Nations to be a messenger against the practice of female genital mutilation. At a speech against the above practice at the United Nations, she said, "Girls who have not performed the clitorissectomy will not be able to get married and be kicked out of the village. And will be confronted with prostitutes." I was still a child then. I said, I don't want to be a woman. Why do women become such a physical and emotional pain? But now that I've grown up, I'm so proud to be the best version of myself. I will try to change those painful customs that we have suffered, because this will change the fate of countless children. Waris was the first person who dared to stand up and talk about female genital mutilation. Under her call, the practice of clitorissectomy became a topic of worldwide concern. Waris later wrote an autobiography called Desert Flower. Waris was the first person who dared to stand up and talk about female genital mutilation. Under her call, the practice of clitorissectomy became a topic of worldwide concern. Many countries have begun to ban this inhumane practice. A wild girl becoming an international supermodel is an unimaginable difficulty. Fate gave Waris a miserable childhood, and a lonely teenager. But she repays the world with beauty and benevolence. She uses kindness to protect girl children in Africa. Maybe that's what she came out of the desert to stand at the top of the international fashion catwalk. Waris turned pain into motivation, finally broke the cocoon, and turned into a beautiful butterfly. And became a flower in the desert.